Hello and thank you for staying with us on Channels Television. You're welcome to the news at 5. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. And we begin from the Federal High Court in Abuja, where Justice Peter Lifu has affirmed the Nenadi-Led Caretaker Committee as the valid leadership of the Labour Party and has ordered the electoral umpire Inec to recognize them as such. While recognizing the Nenadi-Led Exco of the Labour Party, the court also sacked Mr. Julius Aburi as the party's national chairman. Now, delivering judgment, Justice Lifu relied on the April 4th, 2025 verdict of the Supreme Court to declare Senator Usman as the valid leader of the party. The court also ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to forthwith recognize the Senator Nenadi-Led Caretaker Committee as the only valid authority to represent the Labour Party, pending when the party convenes a national convention. While dismissing Mr. Aburi's contention that the matter was an internal affair of a political party that is non-justiciable, the court held that the setting up of the LP Caretaker Committee was a necessity that arose from the order of the Supreme Court. Justice Lifu held that evidence before him established that Julius Aburi's tenure as the national chairman of the Labour Party had since elapsed. The judgment followed a suit instituted by the Nenadi-Led Caretaker-led committee before the court. Aside from Julius Aburi, the NLC, that's the Nigeria Labour Congress, was also cited as a defendant in the matter. Meanwhile, the Julius Aburi-led Labour Party says it will immediately appeal a federal high court ruling in the FCT. The judgment recognized Nenadi-Usman's caretaker committee as the party's leadership, a move the LP says contradicts its constitution. Delivered by Justice Peter Lifu, the court ruling interpreted the April 4th, 2025 Supreme Court verdict to allow a former Minister of Finance and non-member of the party to head the committee. The Labour Party insists the Supreme Court clearly stated that courts cannot appoint political party leaders. The party says leadership matters are strictly internal affairs of political parties. In a statement, the LP National Publicity Secretary Obiora Ifo described the ruling as a clear contradiction of Supreme Court guidance. He said the party remains confident that the Federal High Court is not the final authority. The parties then expressed optimism that justice will be served once the full judgment is reviewed. According to the spokesperson, the position will be firmly reinforced after seeing the certified true copy of that ruling. The leadership of the People's Democratic Party, led by Taminu Turaki, says its presidential ticket for next year's general election will be zoned to the southern part of Nigeria, and it will be open for every member in that region to contest. Mr. Turaki stated this after he led members of his National Working Committee and some members of the Board of Trustees in a visit to the former Vice President Nnamdi Sambo in Abuja. Addressing journalists after the closed-door discussions with Mr. Nnamdi Sambo, the PDP chairman, Mr. Turaki, says the former vice president has promised to actively participate in the affairs of the PDP ahead of the 2027 general election. Before now, Mr. Turaki had 2 weeks ago paid a similar visit to former President Dr. Goodluck Jonathan to help seek his support to navigate the challenges confronting the PDP.
We in PDP are taking a decision to zone our presidential candidate, our presidential ticket to southern part of this country. And for now, we do not know who may emerge as our candidate, even though we know those who will not be our candidates, certainly. So it's open for every member of PDP that is living in southern Nigeria or of southern Nigeria descent. The process is going to be open. It's going to be transparent, it's going to be fair, it's going to be equitable, and it's going to create level playing ground for everybody. So if, for whatever reason, anybody wants to contest, we want to assure you, Nigerians, that you will be the deciders of who becomes your candidate. We've said times and times again that the decision of the Supreme Court is sacrosanct, that courts, our courts have no business in meddling into matters that are purely political party matters.
We're back to the courts now, and this time the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to the Abuja State Commissioner for Finance, Yakubu Adamu, and his co-defendants in the alleged $9.7 million terrorism financing case. Delivering his ruling, Justice Mohammed Umar said the defendants provided sufficient grounds for the court to exercise its discretion judicially and judiciously in their favor. Each defendant was admitted to bail in the sum of 100 million naira with 2 sureties each. Now, the sureties must be a permanent secretary and a director in the civil service. The court also ordered the defendants to deposit their international passports with the court registry. Justice Umar further directed Mr. Adamu and the 3 other defendants to report to the DSS office in Bauchi State every Monday until the determination of the case. The matter was then adjourned to February the 26th this year for the commencement of trial, while the case file has been returned to the Chief Judge for reassignment after the court's vacation. The Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, as well as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, have described court registrars as the backbone of the judicial process, critical to expeditious dispensation of justice. Now, the senior judicial officers made the statement at the strategic retreat of the Committee of Chief Registrars of Nigeria in Abuja. They restated the assurance that the judiciary remains the last hope of the common man. Our correspondent, Daily Omoyeni, reports.
Thank you so much.
It's the 2026 strategic retreat of the Committee of Chief Registrars of Nigeria with the theme Strengthening Court Administration, Financial Accountability and Staff Well-being for a More Effective Judiciary in Nigeria. The Chief Justice of the Federation, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, and the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, are the special guests of honor, and the focus of their speech is their commitment to judicial reforms.
Our primary objective for 2026 and beyond must be the seamless integration of technology into our judicial processes. I urge each of you to embrace continuous learning, engage actively with new technologies, and create cultures of excellence within your registries.
Chief registrars serve as the administrative anchors of the court. You are the custodians of records and the critical interface between the bench, court users, and the public. Your role lies at the intersection of law, administration, and policy, requiring discretion, competence, innovation, and unwavering fidelity to the values of justice.
Former Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, is the keynote speaker. He used the occasion to canvass for more periodic training for judicial officers.
But we must conclude every retreat with a few decisions. No overload. 4 issues, 5 issues, 3 issues. We are taking them back home. This is what we agreed to do. These are the people who are going to do them because we are going to monitor. So when we get back to the next retreat, our starting point is what we agreed the last time, what have we done about them, how much progress have we made.
A critical submission of key judicial officers at this retreat is that the registry is the heartbeat of the Nigerian judiciary. Therefore, issues of accountability, integrity, and the welfare of these officers are key to upholding the rule of law. Also important to note is the commitment of the Nigerian judiciary to moving from a manual system to a digitized system for efficiency. Daily Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Following the admission of the Nigeria police that an abduction incident took place at German Wali community in Kajuru local government of Kaduna State, days after its initial denial of the incident, the press officer of the Christian Solidarity Worldwide Nigeria and the chairman of the Northern Christian Association of Nigeria have both condemned the attitude of the authorities and government in handling the situation. Now, the press officer of the Christian Solidarity Worldwide Nigeria, Ruben Buhari, who described the situation as a deliberate attempt to hide the incident from the public by the authorities, confirms that about 177 people have been abducted from the community. Now, the chairman of the Northern Christian Association of Nigeria, Joseph Hayab, who expressed sadness over how the situation was handled, has since called for government and security agencies to go after and rescue the victims, with consequences given to persons who denied the or with consequences for persons who deny the abductions. He also called for church leaders in hostile and secluded areas across the country to be more security conscious.
They were abducted on Sunday. On Sunday around 9, they converged on the 3 churches in the community to hold their service. Armed gunmen, some on foot, some on motorcycles, came, splitted themselves into 3 groups, and then just surrounded the 3 churches and took the people into the bush. I think about over 200 people they took, walked into the bush. After a while, they now allowed the elderly, the old ones, and then those who are nursing children and to go back. They continue with them. And then in the process, because they are working with people who are over 100, but 11 people were able to escape too, and then they left. So right now we have 177 people who are in the bush. From when it happened, there was a deliberate attempt to close down the news, to black it out. It was deliberate. We spoke to people in the community, and it was very difficult for them to speak because they said, the chairman came and he said, please, that they should not talk to anyone. They should just keep this news within themselves. They'll try as much as possible to quickly bring out to these people.
To me, it's a total disappointment, a total failure, and it further just increase the lack of trust that exists between the people and those who are securing them. The politics that the people bring into security is what is hindering effective action. Can we stop it and allow and tell our security to be accountable and go out there and just bring our people back? Look at the time they were using in denial. That time they're supposed to be using pursuing the bandits. But they chose to allow the bandits to have gone far before they are coming to acknowledge that the information we gave them is true and meant true. The most important thing is going after the criminals, rescuing our people, bring them back, and those who shamelessly deny should be man enough to apologize and don't pretend as if all is well.
3 construction workers have been injured following the collapse of a building under construction in Akure, the Ondo State capital. The workers there were said to be busy while the building located beside the former All Progressives Congress State Secretariat along Oba-Adeshida Road collapsed at about 4 p.m. on Tuesday, while one other person escaped unhurt. Those who sustained injuries were then rushed to the Federal University of Technology Akure Futa, where they are responding to treatment, reportedly. One of the supervisors on the project, Okweyemi Adeyemo, attributed the collapse to human error. Meanwhile, the Ondo State Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Sunday Olajide, explained that the site had been sealed pending the outcome of an investigation to determine the actual cause of the collapse. Let's head to the northeast part of the country now, where troops of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai have uncovered a mass grave containing around 20 terrorist corpses in the Timbuktu Triangle of Borno State. This discovery follows ongoing operations that cleared key insurgent strongholds. According to Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, the find exposes the scale of terrorist casualties. He said it also undermines the propaganda spread by the insurgent groups. The operation demonstrates the growing effectiveness of the military campaign. The media officer explained that troops successfully dominated key locations, including Tegejeri, Chiralia, and Ajigin Abirima areas, which serve as major hideouts and operational bases for the terrorists. Colonel Uba adds that troops engaged fleeing insurgents in repeated firefights, killing several terrorists in the process. When we come back after the break on News at 5, the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, approves 2025 Benue school projects. Join us again for details. Welcome back. The Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, has approved the 2025 Benue State School projects. The Commission's Director for North Central Region, Mr. Edward Abalaka, made the announcement at the flag-off and distribution of teaching and learning materials by the Benue State government in Makadi, the Benue State capital. He adds that following the approval, work on the 2025 counterpart funding projects for the state will commence soon.
the executive chairman to take the stage.
Education secretaries from the 23 local government areas of Benue State and principals converge on the headquarters of the Benue State Universal Basic Education Board for the flag-off of the distribution of teaching and learning materials in the state.
Shall we rise to welcome the Deputy Governor of Benue State, please?
The Deputy Governor, Mr. Sam Ode, is representing Governor Hyacinth Alia at the ceremony, and he highlights the importance of the distribution to the education development in the state. He announces that the government is complementing the Universal Basic Education Commission with 7,000 whiteboards.
These materials are carefully selected to support early literacy and numeracy, to promote digital learning and stimulate creativity, and of course, improve classroom engagement, particularly at the foundational stage of learning.
The director of the Commission for the North Central Zonal Office announces the approval of the state's action plan for the 2025 projects with the prompt payment of counterpart funding by the state government.
In the state, his administration has recorded notable interventions, including the recruitment and deployment of 9,700 teachers to basic education schools, the provision of an additional 7,000 whiteboards to complement UBEC's earlier intervention, and the timely payment of the state's 2025 counterpart fund for the UBEC matching grant.
Attention then shifts to the teaching and learning materials, such as textbooks, exercise books, computers, whiteboards, among others.
I do so in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit.
By the Education Secretary.
Some of the education secretaries received their items in a ceremonial gesture. They were urged to ensure equitable distribution of the materials.
What we have received so far, we have distributed such a way that it will at least go around all the local government, but selected schools.
The teaching and learning materials are just part of the large supplies by UBEC to support the state government's efforts to phase out blackboards from all public schools in the state.
The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, has concluded a 2-day digital literacy training for persons with disabilities in Abuja. The training is part of the agency's efforts to promote inclusivity and ensure persons with disabilities are not left behind in Nigeria's digital transformation drive. The program was implemented in partnership with the Inclusive Friends Association and seen as a pilot under NITDA's Digital Literacy for All initiative. The training focused on equipping participants with practical digital skills to enhance employability, productivity, and participation in the digital economy.
The DL for All is a flagship program under our strategic roadmap and action plan. We call it SRAP 2.0, aimed at achieving digital literacy. And the objective is to get to 70% literacy by 2027 and 95% by 2030. The DL for All is implemented across 3 strategic programs. The first one is the Informal Sector Program, which equips citizens in the informal economy with essential digital skills. Through partnership with the NYSC and Mind the Gap, we have trained over 480,000 Nigerians across the 36 states and the FCT since the program launched in September 2024. Secondly, the Education Sector Program, which is focused on embedding digital technology into formal education. Through our partnership with the Federal Ministry of Education and agencies such as the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, we have developed the approved digital literacy and skills curriculum for basic education. Lastly, the Workforce Readiness Program, designed to enhance digital competence in both the public and private sectors.
Welcome to Business News. As the year 2026 unfolds, projections for Africa's economic growth, including Nigeria, remain in focus. Speaking on Business Morning, AFDB Chief Economist Kevin Urama said Nigeria is on a positive trajectory, stressing that sustaining ongoing reforms will be crucial to maintaining this growth this year.
If you look at the Nigerian economy, as I've mentioned, the estimated growth for 2025 is 3.89%. This is a marginal increase from what we had in 2024. And normally what we look at in these estimates and reports is the direction of travel. Because when you are talking about percentage growth increases, large economies, the percentage growth increases might look smaller, but in real terms, they are actually growing the economies much better. If you look at a percentage is just a ratio of what you had before. So that's the issue with Nigeria. So Nigeria is really on a very positive trajectory with all the reforms that are going on in the country. Now I've seen strengthening fiscal and monetary policy coordination in Africa that is also creating stability in the Naira and several other indicators on the continent. Nigeria in 2026 is expected to continue to improve in its GDP growth. There are several factors that we are watching which will define the define the exact projection that we have, but it's on a very positive trajectory.
Well, the central bank has held its second Treasury bills auction for January 2026, offering 1.15 trillion naira across the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day maturities. The largest portion, 800 billion naira, is allocated to one-year bills, reflecting strong investor demand for longer-term securities. Analysts are projecting a mild uptick in the yields of the one-year Treasury bill at the primary auction on Wednesday, with investors sensitive to inflation trends, monetary policy signals, and government borrowing needs. Recent auctions have seen higher yields despite soft inflation, signaling cautious sentiment. South African inflation rose slightly to 3.6% in the month of December from 3.5% in November. That's according to the country's statistics office. Now, despite the uptick, underlying price pressures remain low, with 2025's average inflation at 3.2%, below the central bank's 3.3% forecast. The central bank is expected to continue cutting interest rates later this month to help support economic growth. UK inflation rose to 3.4% in December, its first increase in 5 months, and that's according to its official data. Now, the figure is up from 3.2% in the month of November and slightly above economists' expectations. The rise is likely to see the Bank of England keep interest rates unchanged at 3.75% when it meets in February. Most economists, however, still expect a rate cut later in the year if price pressures continue to ease. Despite the uptick, inflation is projected to fall this year, 2026, with the Bank of England expecting it to move closer to its 2% target by mid-year, helped by easing wage growth and government cost of living measures. And that's the news at 5 at this time. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balugum. The World Today is up next.